Welcome. This is the Navigating Friendship Drama for under five. Well, for parents of under fives, because it's like, it's for all of us. And so today we're doing from 0 to 5s. Now at 8:30 we'll be doing 5 to 11s, and at 9 o'clock for all you late night teen parents, we'll be doing it for parents of teenagers for there. So if you have children in multiple stages, it's up to you what you decide to join in. Feel free to join me for the whole evening. It'll be not different, but we're going to really apply it to different things. So we'll see how it goes. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another day. If you have made it to this time with all of your heating on, congratulations. I have been living with my heater, and I'm nervous about my money. I don't do well. Southern California, I've almost been in this country as long as I was in California, but I still feel genetically my Californianness is in here. So I am by my radiator, and you may just see me touching it after a while because I'm so cold. It's going to be okay. So today we are talking about navigating friendship drama. And I find this one really hard because, well, no, not really hard. I find it difficult to talk about because what happens really quickly to all of us is we have multiple questions, and primarily based on scenarios that our kids are dealing with. And so I wanted to give a good chunk of time to hit those scenarios and us sort of talk those through. So if you have something that your kid's going through now, or things you're worried about for this under 5 lifetime span, then please type it in now. And Anna, my colleague who's sitting there with her under 5s in her house, will put them together so we can make sure we hit all the questions you have, or as many questions as humanly possible. And the ones we won't get to, I will then write answers to later, because I think this is really important to do that. But rather than just jump in with immediate questions about, what to do, this and this, I wanted to take a step back and just give us time to think, because I think it's really important that we have time to process what are the foundations of how we approach this. Because I find if we spend a lot of parenting life just trying to get from one scenario to another, it's absolutely exhausting, and we never feel like we're ever quite on top of it. But today I want to give you some approaches of how to think about it with your kids so that then you can apply it in whatever circumstance you get. So we're going to hit 3 things that I find are really significant in equipping our children in their friendships. And then we can hit all of those questions. So feel free, type away at those questions. We'll hit them. But right now, there's 3 things I think we as parents can do to position our kids for this. The first thing, I was going to write you really pretty things, but I didn't. So you're just going to have to make them in your head. The first thing is to build foundations of what makes a good friend. Because what happens essentially is we hit friendship drama, and then we're trying to add a bunch of information. We're trying to shove all the information we possibly can about friendships into the particular friendship trauma that is happening right there. And it can't quite sustain everything we want to say. So we're trying to cope with it. We're actually, under 5's life is all about naming reality and building their foundation for how they see the world. And so proactively, when they're not in friendship drama, just as part of your everyday life of getting them dressed and getting them to school, just have in the back of your mind, I need to build into their psyche what good friendship is and look like and what it is, so that then when their friendships don't match up to that, they can say, wait a minute, that's not good friendship, rather than I'm just experiencing pain with people and I don't know why. So one of the things that you can do is begin to take some time in your head to figure out what makes good friendship for you. And I think everybody is different on this, and that is okay. But think of some really good qualities that you want your kids to experience in friendship, and then begin to praise those qualities in your kids and in other people's children. So for me, kindness, well, I began to say taking care of people's hearts, but kindness is really important. And so whenever kids do something kind, I tend to say, oh, that was something that was really kind. That was so taking care of blah blah's heart, because you saw that she was scared and you walked alongside and held her hand, and that made her feel safe. That was so kind of your heart, and what a good friend to do that for someone. So you just sort of name really good behaviors, not just like, oh, you were nice to someone, because nice doesn't quite cover it. What you're trying to say is you saw someone hurting and you came alongside them to make them feel safe. And that was kind and a great feature of friendship. And so that whatever is on your heart, whether people being protective, I like how you wanted to keep your friend safe, or I like how your friend said no. Ooh, this is good. We'll come to this a bit later. But I like how your friend said no, and you listened to your friend's no. That is excellent friendship. Friendship is all about listening to each other's yeses and nos, and saying yes to those. Or how helpful people are, how good they are at listening. Your friend was talking and you didn't interrupt them once. You were listening. Oh, that is such a good friend. I love when my friends listen to me. And so to sort of name those things, whether it's helpful, whether it's them sharing power, whether it's whatever quality you find in friendships in your life, name those and talk about those. TV programs are excellent for this. And so, Paw Patrol or whatever you guys are into, or Mr. Bloom's Nursery, whatever you are watching, you and your pause button are the best, because you can pause and say, I'm feeling so happy right now because they were lost and then they didn't give up on their friend. What a wonderful friendship. Or you can say, I don't like how, what's his name is being really mean to everybody else. And no, everyone seems to be okay with him using harsh words. I'm not okay with him using harsh words with his friends. That's not okay with me. You be as opinionated as you want, because you are helping draw their attention to what is good friendship and what, in some ways, the world says is good friendship, but you don't agree is good friendship. So pause TV when you're watching it. When you're watching them play together, say, oh, I just wanted to come and give you an extra sweetie or carrot, depending on what kind of parent you are, because I noticed you were all, calming each other down and taking care when someone else got freer. Praise it. Do that. Create windows into your friendship. Oh, I love talking to my friend because she takes care of my heart. When I feel like my heart's going, she just calms me right down with her calm words. You have calm words too. I like how my friend does that for me. So name it. Build foundations for what makes healthy friendship, so that then your kid has something to grab onto when the friendship drama comes. The second thing that our kids need in that sort of foundational building, build the foundations of what makes good friendship. The second approach that's really helpful to have in your head is empowerment. A lot of friendship drama comes out of kids not knowing what to do in a scenario. So it escalates into crazy drama. And that makes sense. They're 3. They're still trying to figure out what their emotions are, what the names of their emotions are, and how to cope with everything. So that is okay. They are going to have big emotions, but empowerment is really important because they're establishing how to do things. So from a lot of times in friendship drama, they don't know how to make friends, or they don't know how to break up with friends, or they don't know how to say no to friends. So all of the how-tos they're missing. So to begin to role play when you're playing with your kids, on the weekends or something, to be able to say, what would you do if there was a new kid at school, or in nursery or at church, and someone came in and they looked shy? If I was shy, what would you do? And they can come practice, and they can say, I'd just leave them alone. You can say, oh, but they really need someone who has a good, kind heart like you to take care of them. How could you take care of someone who is shy? And they can come up and say, come play with me. And you go, oh, that made me feel so great. And so empower them to make new friends. Or if you walk in and you don't know anybody, what do? We go look for somebody who looks like they need a friend. Don't wait for someone to come up to you. Let's see who needs a friend, and let's go find that. So then you can go to a coffee shop and you can look around and say, who in here looks like they need a friend? Oh, excellent. And then you can go give that person a sweetie. You can train them in how to do that. So when they walk into a room, they're not thinking, this is a sea of social craziness and I don't know what to do. But they walk in and they know, I can find a friend because someone needs a friend like me. Or when somebody is... when someone is trying to push into their life, like excellent under 5's world, where like you have a kid who's just pushy, that kid who's like, I'm going to shove you in the face, the sort of aggressive child. And to say, when someone's pushing you like this, what do you do? And to just practice that, and then praise that when they're making good choices. I remember taking some kids to gymnastics and watching them all, stand in the queue. One kid was like the cutter, the one who was cutting in the queue, and everyone, all of us parents were like, trying to silently not judge the parent, but also like, are you going to do something? But we know she couldn't, and it was, and I remember watching these kids, and there were some kids who had been prepped, for this drama moment, and looked the kid in the face and said, "No, thank you." And then when the kid did it again, the kid goes, "You're not in control of your body very well. We're moving," and sort of took them and their friends, and they took like 4 steps back. And they felt really positive about it, where otherwise that could have turned into a crying, she's pushing me, I don't like it, like trauma. But that kid had been prepped for, if somebody is touching me and I don't like them, this is how I'm going to respond. And then after the kid had sort of said, "You're not in control of your body, I'm moving us," moved, and then turned around and gave his parent like this big thumbs up. And the parent was like, "Woohoo, way to control yourself." And there's just ways of training them to do that. So one, build a foundation of what good friendship looks like. And then secondly, empower them to be able to do it, because they're still learning this stuff. And so when you give them the power to respond, then they can, and praise them for their choices that are healthy, then they can begin to sort of feel like they know what to do when the drama comes up. And the third thing I would say before we get to those questions is to help walk alongside them in the situation, particularly with under 5s, where like, it's fine, get over it, it was not that big of a deal. But for kids, they are experiencing these emotions really deeply. I mean, it's a heart pain when your favorite dinosaur gets taken away by someone who's stronger than you. Like, for them, that's devastating. And sometimes we feel like we go, nope, it's fine, here's another toy. And we try to minimize that emotional experience. And you know your kid better than I know your kid, so please take this with a grain of salt depending on your child. But sometimes it is more foundational for us to say, wow, that really hurt. How do you feel? And help them work through those emotions so that they then know how to cope with those emotions. Because if we say, no, don't feel those emotions, then they never get smarter in how to deal with those emotions. So you don't have to do it every time, but if someone has robbed them of their precious toy and they are just in deep, deep pain, to say, that is tough when you feel like you are powerless and can't do anything about it. What are our choices and how can we cope with that? We could go, punch them in the face, but that wouldn't be kind and wouldn't really get what we wanted. We could do this. And so you can begin to coach them in what their choices are. We can just coach them in saying, when I'm sad, I take 3 deep breaths. And then I say, I can find something else. And you can begin to give them whatever, based on their personality, they need. But to walk with them in that, because if we condition ourselves and them to know that our job is not to solve it for them, but to walk with them in their experience and help them feel powerful and make good choices in their relationships, then it lays the foundation for when they're older and when they're teenagers, that we are alongside of them and yet won't step in and try to control them. And so just think how I'm doing it with a 4-year-old is laying a trust foundation with my kid for how I'm going to do it with them when they're 15. And when they're smaller, they need more help and they need more facilitating and they need us more involved. And as they get older, we step back. But it's really helpful to just remember that as you're a part of it and as you're sorting it out and as you're coming in and saying, explain your feelings. How can we come together? That you are helping them walk that journey rather than solving the journey for them. We have some questions coming in, so I'd like to get to those. And I think some more stuff will come out. But if you have questions on specific scenarios, that would really help all of us, I think, take these sort of 3 foundations of build good foundational about friendship, empower our kids in it, and learn how to walk alongside of them and really nail it down to something. So please be typing in your scenarios and your questions. That would be super helpful. The first question that has come through is what to say when they say, I don't want to be friends with so-and-so. Also when they say that they don't want any friends. Right. What to say when they say, as in your child says, I don't want to be friends with so-and-so. Okay. I'm going to add a third dynamic to this. But one, when your kid says, I don't want to be friends with so-and-so, that is usually because that so-and-so is doing something that is violating whatever contract of friendship that the 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old has. They are saying, there's something about that child's behavior that I don't like. And And so the really useful thing to do is to dig into what that is, because sometimes it's, I don't want to be friends with so-and-so because I judge them and they then are like, they're weird. And so then that's a different process to go on versus I don't want to be friends with so-and-so because I just don't like them. There could be something in there. They're mean with their words. And so begin to ask questions of that kid if they're verbal. If they're not verbal, then you can help them in a different way. So first, let's say if they're verbal, if they can say, I don't want to be friends with so-and-so, you can say, is there something about how so-and-so acts that hurts your heart or hurts your body or makes you feel uncomfortable? And so you can begin to ask those questions, because sometimes it's so-and-so takes their toys all the time, or sometimes so-and-so yells, or sometimes so-and-so is loud, and you begin to just get a sense that that child is uncomfortable with that child's behavior, at which point it's okay. You don't have to be friends with everybody. You do have to be kind to everybody. So I don't want you hurting so-and-so, but that doesn't mean you have to be best friends. So I expect you to be in control of your body and use your kind words, but you don't always have to play with them. That's okay. Or if you feel like your child is proactively excluding somebody, then that's a different route of saying, if you don't like play with so-and-so and they go, they're weird or they have a different language or something, say, oh, I wonder, do they have people to play with? And maybe if you don't want to play with them, that's okay. But it's important that everybody has somebody. So maybe you can help them find somebody that they get along with really well, and you can not facilitate, but you can help them find a buddy. And you can play with that. Or sometimes it's just nice to let them be welcome, and maybe we can look and see what is the sparkly goodness inside them that we haven't seen yet. And so it's about having a conversation and watching them play and letting your child voice it, because sometimes they're rejecting each other for fairly good reasons, and sometimes they're rejecting each other for not very good reasons. And if we don't dig and find out which is which, then it can become a problem. Other kids, you say, when they say they don't want any friends, sometimes that goes back to the building foundations question. And so it could be that they don't want any friends because they're just an introvert kid, and actually 30 kids is a problem. And so sometimes those kids need facilitation in place. It's okay, you don't need to have friends, but you do need to be able to play. That's very important for your brain and your heart. So where can you play with people that you enjoy playing with? Because sometimes the label friend can be stressful for that, because in their head it requires something, because you never know what's happening on the playground with those playing things. Sometimes when you're a friend, then you only have to ever play with me, and it becomes this control thing. So their protection of not wanting friends is them essentially saying, I don't want to be owned by anyone. And so dig a little bit and discover a bit about why they don't want friends. And it could be that their personality is just more isolated. It could be that they're worried about how to do friendship, and that, when you're friends with someone, you have to play with them all the time, and they might not know how to do that. So they may need a bit more empowering. And so it's figuring out, do they need more foundations, or do they need some empowering in that? I think we say, I want you to have friends, but actually what I want for kids is that they know the joy of being loved and the significance of loving and taking care of others. And that's really what I'm trying to teach kids. Not, you have to have friends and it has to look like that. It can look however you want to look. And beginning to talk about together, what is friends? And you can make a list with your kid if they don't want friends, and say, what are friends? What do we like about the idea of friends, and what do we don't like the idea of friends? Remember also, until they're 2 and a bit, they're still parallel playing. So friendship is more like people that are around them while they're trying to get on with their thing. And so friendship is quite an older age group from this 0 to 5s group. Right, from someone else, how do you deal with the you're not my friend anymore, or them putting a lot of pressure on other kids saying you're my best friend and being sad that the other kid doesn't reciprocate? Yes. So this is the foundation of what we are going to talk about in the next sort of older group. Manipulation and control within friendship is massive. And that's partially because this title of friendship comes with these weird social obligations that kids are trying to figure out. And so one of the things that is foundational in talking about friendship is about people trying to control each other. And so you can, if your kid is there, is in that dynamic, you can begin to say, sometimes people try, without it being in the scenario, I find, sometimes people try to control other people by using words like, unless you do this, I won't be your friend anymore, or you're my friend and now you have to be, or do this or else I won't like you anymore. And so sometimes they use their words and sort of threaten each other to say, if you don't do this, and I really want to control your actions, so I'm going to use my words to try to make you do something. And if you feel like someone's trying to do that to you, that's okay. That's not really friendship. And you can say, no, thank you. I'll do what I need to do. Or just recognize that someone's trying to control you. And that can be part of your at-home equipping. And so sometimes your kid will be like, unless you do this, I won't do this. And you go, oh, I think are you trying to use your words to control me? Why not try something different, like, will you please do this for me? And begin to catch them when they're trying to control you. Or you can say, ooh, am I trying to control you with my words now? Unless you clean your bed, I'm not going to feed you tonight. Is that trying to control you? Is that a threat? And you can sort of show them what control and manipulation is, so that then they know when they are doing it and when they are having it done to them. And also then you're also building the foundation of them basically wanting to love and be known they're loved. And so control isn't the way to love. If we say, you're my best friend and we have to be best friends, that doesn't give people choice. And the best part of choice, the best part of love, is when we have choice. That's what God does for us. He says, I choose you, and I'd love for you to choose me too. But he doesn't force us to do it. He doesn't try to control us to do it. He always says, I'm here. I'd love for you to love me too. And so we can't really force someone to love us, but what we can do is be good friends and be grateful for what they choose to give back. It's the choosing that makes it powerful. I choose to love you every day, and you choose to love me, and it's wonderful. We don't threaten each other to love. We love each other because we just do, and we give. And so that's a really important foundational conversation to have, as it is sad when we feel like we love someone and they don't love us back. That is heartbreaking and super sad, and God understands that. Jesus understands that. There are so many people in the Bible that we've seen who understand that. I understand that. Create windows into those stories in your life. Tell stories and say how you cope with it. And let them know that their friendship is powerful and wonderful. And that's what friendships are, is finding each other and loving each other well. And finding those people who take care of you as much as you take care of them. And it's hard. And you understand it's hard, but you're really proud of them because you know they will make a great friend. And then you're back to the building foundations of why they're excellent friends and what qualities they have that bring to those friendships, and empowering them to say those things well. So rather than say, you're my best friend, you have to be, how can you invite them and ask them to want to do something else with you? It's the walking alongside of them, building foundations and empowering them. Is there any other questions, Anna? I don't see them coming up. It is a tough road, folks. There is no perfect way for this. If you want more, in the Parenting for Faith Omnibus version, the big blue book, they've squished 3 books together. And the 3rd book in that one is about confidence and having confidence. And one of those chapters is all about friendship drama. And so if you want to sort of explore that more, feel free. Because it's in that book. But in the meantime, let me pray for you, and then we'll go. You can do this, by the way. I know it feels overwhelming now because their brains are small and it's really chaotic and very emotional. And I have to say, it doesn't get any easier as they grow up. But if you keep doing these things, as we go to the next stage and the next stage, these are the same foundations that I'm talking about in every age group. It's just applied differently at different ages. And so if you can get this now, you can really build a foundation for yourself of feeling confident and how to walk alongside your kids as they build friendships. Because as we know, friendships are at the heart of who we are. It's who we've been designed to be, really, to be in relationship with others. And so all the work you're doing this, and the agony that you're experiencing, and the wanting them to have good friendships, is actually absolutely right and foundational to who God's made them to be. So let me pray for you and your kids. God, I thank you so much for friendship, and that you designed friendship to help us flourish as individuals. And God, I thank you that you came to earth, that as Jesus, you may have experienced the agony of betrayal and of rejection and of your hometown liking you and then not liking you and all the friendship drama. Jesus, you were at the center of so much friendship drama. And I thank you that you understand. And God, our precious kids are trying to figure out how to be in relationship with others. And I pray that you give every parent wisdom beyond anything that they've earned, that they may coach their children through these delicate and precious friendships. I pray that you would give them insight, that they may see what's going on underneath the hurt and underneath the actions, that they may see the heart of their child, that they may coach their child to be able to process those emotions, to reach out to others, and to become the friends that they've been called to be. I pray that you'll bless each one of our children with friends who love them and value them and take care of them. And I pray that you'd help us to train our children to be the same. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a good month. I can't remember what's happening next month. I say this every month. I'm like, oh, I should remember that, and then I don't. But next month we'll be back. And please share your stories of how you've negotiated this well. If you have any further questions, type them in. I'll try to get to them. But be blessed, and we'll see you soon. Now go binge watch The Crown because it just came out on Netflix.